One Bet. My name is Noah Mosley, and thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so already, please like, comment, and subscribe down below. In this video, we finally made it to the first race of the season, the Bahrain Grand Prix, and we'll be covering the qualifying and the racing lines heading into the weekend. Let's go ahead and let's get into it. Pre-season testing has just concluded, and my initial thoughts coming out of it are, wow, we might as well strap in for another year of Max Verstappen domination. That RB20 looks to be just as scary as the RB19 was last year, and GP giving us that evil laugh in the camera just solidifies the fact that they still have more pace to show. The only hiccup I foresee with Red Bull potentially being is this whole investigation with Christian Horner. Could that cause a ripple within the team, or also could they have reliability issues? It's something to definitely look at moving forward. But overall, looking at the preseason testing, I think the front of the grid is going to be very competitive behind Max Verstappen, between Sergio Perez at Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, Aston Martin, and Ferrari. All of those cars seem to be pretty competitive this year and should allow for pretty good racing. Alright, this year how I will be giving my predictions is I will be giving you 3 predictions for the qualifying session and 3 predictions for the race session. Now within those predictions, I'm going to give you 1 shot in the dark, 1 potential lock, and 1 best bet. And these are just my bets that I will be locking in through the weekend, and I hope you guys are willing to tag along on the train, and hopefully we can go ahead and win some money. And I've also looked at all of the odds through all of the main sports books, and I have the best odds to go ahead and throw them on your driver. Starting off with our qualifying odds for the weekend, my shot in the dark is gonna be Oscar Piastri of McLaren. Oscar's sitting at plus 10,000 odds on Bet365, and I think that this is a good bet to just go ahead and, if you want a shot in the dark, throw it on Oscar. He had a very impressive rookie season last year, and he was one to stay within the top 10 majority of the time, as long as he didn't have any reliability issues or he didn't go to a track he wasn't familiar with. I expect Oscar to be up there for sure, making it into Q3. And with his car, it may not be to the expectation or the level that he wants it to be, but I think if he gets on that single lap pace, he could potentially propel himself up to the front of the grid starting into the race for Saturday. So that is my shot in the dark. Lock it in for Oscar Piastri. Up next, sitting at my potential lock is going to be Carlos Sainz of Ferrari. Now, Carlos is sitting at odds plus 850 over on FanDuel, and I think this is a good bet to lock in, as Ferrari typically has pretty good pace around the Bahrain track, and Carlos has shown last year especially that he can put up a single lap quali pace when he wants to. And taking into account that Carlos doesn't have a seat for next year, I think that could play into his favor. And with also looking at last week, Ferrari was up towards the top of the timesheets, but who's to say which teams were sandbagging? That's what we'll look at going into this weekend. But I would say go ahead and lock it in for Carlos Sainz as the potential lock for qualifying this weekend. My best bet to go ahead and take pole for the Bahrain Grand Prix will be Charles Leclerc of Ferrari. Now, Charles is sitting at plus 270 odds over on FanDuel, and I believe that he is your best bet to go ahead and take pole and challenge Max Verstappen. I think that Ferrari has produced a car that can compete with the Red Bull, and Charles is the best qualifier on the grid, hands down. Now, Charles can be his worst enemy from time to time, and I understand that a lot of his issues have come from the reliability of the car, but with that being said, we have seen some mental mistakes come from Charles, and that is what needs to be smoothed out in order for Charles to have a chance at the World Drivers' Championship this season. So, I believe that he is your best bet to lock in to take pole for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Go ahead, lock it in. Now moving over to racing odds, my shot in the dark for this weekend is going to be Fernando Alonso. Now, Fernando is sitting at plus 4,000 odds over on DraftKings, and I think that this is a great shot in the dark, as Fernando is a two-time champion. And if you look at the steps that Aston Martin took last year at the Bahrain Grand Prix, propelling themselves out of the back of the grid and, making them one of the front running teams, that was a pretty huge step. And who's to say that they can't make an even more significant step this season? And we saw with the development of McLaren, in mid-season last year, that a strive like that can be achieved. And, who's to say that Fernando Alonso gets out in front and he can control the race? We have seen that he has the ability to bring home championships, and so I think that he is a good shot in the dark to win the Grand Prix this weekend. Up next, my potential lock to win the race this weekend is Checo Perez. Now, Checo is sitting at odds plus 1,400 over on FanDuel, and I think that this is a pretty good bet to lock in, as Checo is the only other driver driving the RB20, and it is a literal spaceship, as Checo has great amount of experience with a car that is by far towards the front of the grid. There's no reason that he should be finishing off of the podium. Last season we saw some inconsistencies with his race pace. However, towards the start of the season, he did show pretty strong race pace, and this is kind of what I'm predicting again in the season, is he's going to come out strong, and I think that he could potentially propel himself to a victory. So I would go ahead and lock in Checo Perez as your potential lock to win the race this weekend. My best bet to go ahead and win the Bahrain Grand Prix this weekend is Max Verstappen. Max is sitting at odds minus 275 over at BetMGM, and I know some people will be upset, but what is there left to say? Max is a three-time defending World Drivers' Champion. He won this race last year. He looked really good at preseason testing last week. I just don't see a scenario where Max loses this race. However, the only, scenario I could hypothesize would just be reliability in their car looking back at 2022. That's the only way that I see Max not winning this race. He has just shown time and time again he is the most dominant driver on the track. So go ahead, lock him in for your best bet for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Hey guys, I hope you liked the video. If you haven't done so already, please like, comment, and subscribe down below. Looking forward to my next video recapping all of these bets. Should be coming out either Monday or Tuesday, so keep an eye out for that video coming out. But besides that, I'm looking forward for the first race of the season. Hopefully we get some good racing on track. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and happy racing.